That's a really interesting theory. I saw you talking about the pole shift, but this is something that's always happened, right? It's nothing new. It's not like the first time they've shifted.
No, it's happened hundreds of times that are documented over millions of years, and we're overdue for the next big one. But here's what's wild, is that Media Matters, who's funded by George Soros, did a hit piece on me. So I was on another podcast.
Congratulations, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. I'm kind of.
Oh, you must really had some good data.
You must have told the truth.
I was on a podcast that I talked about the geomagnetic poles, and then they ran a hit piece on me, and I'm like, why does Media Matters care? Like, I mean,
because they know all about taking polls.
That was good. I'm adding a drum effect.
So, like, I'm like, out of all things in the world, it's like, if they're concerned about trying to debunk a conspiratorial pole shift theory about destructing the ancient times, maybe there's some truth to it. So I've gone further down the rabbit hole on this.
What have
In
you
fact,
found?
Elon Musk had talked about this a while back on a podcast, saying that ice ages are a deep, deep rabbit hole.
Oh, they are, definitely.
You've looked into that?
Oh, yeah.
She's looked into everything.
I've looked into all of it.
So to anyone that's listening that hasn't looked into this stuff, this is where things get really wild. So the data shows that we are in the middle of I shouldn't say middle, but we are in an ice age right now that's been ongoing for 3 million years.
Wow.
And this is where the part that things get nuts, is that from ice core data that we have from the North and South Pole, it shows that over the last 450,000 years, there's been 5, well, you could say 4, but I would say 5 interglacial periods. And what that means, interglacial periods are periods of warming. Glacials are periods of cooling.
Right.
So we're coming out of the cooling 12,800 years ago, and it's been warming. But this is the part that they were like trying to debunk me and say that I countered mainstream science. They say, because I said that the data shows that the Earth is cold more often than it's hot, and we should be grateful because when it's warm, we can grow things. When it's freezing, you all die.
Right.
So this is the part that's crazy. When I went down this rabbit hole looking
I
at
bet they said they came up with a vaccine to vaccinate the Earth.
That's what we
So
need.
it
That's what I'm
won't get-
talking about. Shout out to my buddies at Big Pharma. Yeah, it's like, ching ching. It's like sell my soul for that. But let me just say this to anyone listening that's curious.
Yeah.
It's like the periods. This is where it's wild. The periods of cooling are 7 to 9 times longer than the warming. So in other words, the warming period that we're in now is said to last several thousand years, whereas the cooling lasts tens of thousands of years. And I think this is what's actually happening here, is that no matter what happens on Earth, it's going to freeze again. No matter what we do, no matter how bad us humans trash the planet, that the real thing is that we're going to freeze again. Because I'm like, why else would they come after me? Because the last thing they want when they're pushing this man-made,
global warming.
their narrative is that, okay, because then I could start asking questions like, oh, well, where are we right now in that precessional cycle that said to freeze things over again? To what percentage is that playing a part in our temperatures? If you're going to come at me and try to get me to write a check for carbon tax, sorry, Jimmy Corsetti has some questions before he writes that check. And
I'll tell you what I'd say right there. I'd say
Thank you.
their computations are racist.
it's bigoted against warm weather.
Well, yeah, because
Yeah.
I
What do
mean,
they have against the tropics? Disgusting.
Think about it.
This is word
That's where
violence.
the brown people live, and they're racist.
Right.
so are we in
Right.
danger of warming right now or cooling? I'm confused.
So this is the part that's the
environment-
mystery, is that,
okay,
so we were warming.
right.
Yeah.
The question becomes, how much do we warm until it eventually cools again? Here's the part that gets nuts. Decades ago, the so-called experts were saying that, we're going to enter another ice age.
Right.
And then they backed off that because it didn't happen. And they're like, well, it's global warming. Now they're starting to do another flip on that. And
Yeah, now it's climate change.
you want to know something else while I'm at it? So have you ever heard of the Little Ice Age, the mini ice age? So
I have heard of that.
So from the year 1300 to 1850, there was cooling in the northern hemisphere, where there was reduction in crops, livestock, increased famine, and disease. There was also subsequently, 2,000 years ago, something called the medieval warming period, or the Roman warming period, where the northern hemisphere had heated. So much so that there was an abundance of Roman vineyards in the UK, as they've recently discovered. So, and it's all tied to sun cycles. So that's another thing, is that why don't I hear about this? So if they're going to talk about us trashing this planet and heating it or cooling it, I'm like, I
Well,
just like to know
let's cut to the chase. They want nothing of science anywhere.
Right.
You mean science TM?
Yeah.
I've been adding this on all my social media posts. Like, you
Trademark
mean science TM? Just say it. Science TM. Little trademark. Because it's bond paid for. It's like follow the money.
Absolutely.
Big bucks.
100%.
Yeah.
I love that you got a hit piece. That's so cool. I want a hit piece.
I should be careful how I word this. Like, I'm almost relishing it from the standpoint that we were talking about this earlier. It's like there's
must be on
something
the
in my
target.
blood where I enjoy a good fight, a fair
Oh, yeah,
fight.
me too.
It gets me, and my brain starts firing with ideas.
Yeah.
And although I don't want to be on George Soros's naughty list, because like, be careful what you wish for. These people
Yeah,
they
that's no
destroy
fun.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
He already warned me, so
He came after Mom
I'm
once.
very careful what I say about him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Because
he came
already
after her.
warned
It was
me.
scary.
How's
It was scary.
Via fax machine.
Well, to
100%.
threaten to sue me,
Yeah.
but you know that
for what?
because of the process. Well, it don't
Well,
matter.
she said
for
he
what.
turned the Nazis.
say it.
No. But it was true.
Well, that
It just was a kid. You know the whole
He
story
was
of
a
Soros.
kid and was a Nazi
Yes.
slave.
Yeah, and he
So
was
you can't hold him responsible for what he
Right.
did there.
right.
Which
right?
is true.
He was a slave of the Nazis.
He was
so
scared. No
Yeah, his
14
You know,
uncle,
years
he was 15. I know the
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
And the part that angered a lot of people
He
is
was
that
13.
13.
Yeah.
13.
Well,
Hey,
she
you
had
know,
said you can't. I mean, you have to say that he was a kid. I think that's important. And I
Yeah,
defend
he
him
was
on
a
that.
slave of the
Like
Nazi
she said it
state.
best after the lawsuit when she got out of it. She was like, "You can't blame him for that. It's everything after that
And
that
that's
he's done
what I
is
hate
horrible."
him for.
Yeah.
I'll even say like,
I
hey,
hate him for what he did after
Yeah.
that.
right, what's
There's
he been
more
up
than
to the
enough.
last number of decades? And I will say like,
Collapsing
yes,
does-
Destroying
But-
currencies, communities, human lives.
He's doing it here. He's going to
He's-
crash the dollar. And he's going to buy everything back up. That's what's happening. That's my theory.
He
You're totally
found out
correct.
the power
course I'm
of
correct.
destruction, and you know that's and I really resent him calling himself a Jew, which he never does unless it serves him. He's the only Jewish person that the ADL has ever stuck up for. Certainly not me. The
It
only
is true.
and he's not even. He doesn't even. He hates Judaism and says destroying Israel is his number one wish, and he hates Judaism. He doesn't consider himself a Jew, but a 100% Marxist or whatever the hell it
he
is.
hates everything.
But he hates human life,
Yeah,
basically.
he's a very
So
angry man.
I don't like that they say he's a Jew, but he has the Jewish name, a Gino, Jew in name only.
Mm.
I
And
love
that
that.
is the only Jew that the ADL ever defends. They never defend me for taking apart Valerie Jarrett's Iran deal and saying that it was an existential threat on the people in Israel. And that was proven to be true October 7th.
Right.
And so they can kiss my ass too. You know, I'm not going to let them win.
No.
I don't like Stalinists, Marxists, or fascists. I don't like true believers that think they're the only ones who have the right to speak.
All those isms and ists it's devilry.
It
It's about
is
tyrannical
devilry.
control and domination of mankind.
Right.
And I'm on the side of mankind. Like
Me too.
good versus evil. Either you're going to be a stand-up person and do what's right and say the truth, or you're on the other side. And there's a line in the sand as far as I'm concerned now.
That's right. There's one
100%.
law for all people, including the Jewish people. And I'm so sick of the world's double standards toward Jewish people and trying to use us for their moral hostages as we continue to be targets of all their immoral bullshit. It's going to change, and everybody's bullshit is going to go away, and people are no longer going to be able to say one thing and do another in this new configuration of 2024. Bullshit is going to die quick.
Right. I'm optimistic. I think times are going to get worse before they get better. But like they're talking about mark of the beast stuff where in the Bible it says no one will be able to purchase in the markets unless they take the mark of the beast. I'm like, I think the mark of the beast is the
Digital
central
currency.
digital banking
100%.
currency.
Of course it
100%.
is.
You can pay on Amazon with your palm now.
Right. And like you were saying, Jake, about the collapse of the dollar.
That's
so,
the proof that your body
Yeah.
is currency,
Yeah.
which
Right.
they've wanted all along since they put in the Federal Reserve.
right.
The human body is currency. That's what a birth certificate's about.
Federal. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
even federal. It's a private institution of the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds, and this stuff goes back hundreds of years. It's not a conspiracy. It's just true. Somebody
It is true.
started the banking system, which is brilliant in its own way. You get, but when it comes to the dollar, the fact that they are now removing the petrodollar, which is what's made the United States dollar so powerful, that's
Right.
going away in 2024. The SWIFT system, where the U.S. dollar is traded in from OPEC, gone.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of it, the fact that the BRICS, that Brazil, Russia, India, and China, and then a couple dozen other countries around the world are establishing their own currency.
Yeah.
That's right.
Like I'm like, there's a lot of
It's
stories in the
coordinated.
world, but this is one of the biggest stories.
One
the
of the
biggest.
biggest
It's over.
stories. We hear nothing about it in the American press.
Because they don't want us to talk
They
about
don't
it.
want us to know about
Well,
it.
that's what I was saying to Jimmy. That Soros, what he does, that's how he got his money, is he goes in, he manipulates markets, he basically, essentially collapses their economy, and then when their economy collapses, he buys shit up for cheap. That's what he does. So it's
Yeah.
like, why is Soros involved in American politics? Well, no shit. He's destroying America.
Because he's a vulture investor.
Well, you don't want to buy a house for $1 million if you can buy it for $250,000. If you want to get it down to
Yeah, and if you got to
$250,000,
destroy everything, the people
That's
who
what-
live there,
that's how
like
you get it
say in some Hawaiian island, so you destroy all their lives and
Yeah.
memory.
burn them
And
with the
that, 'cause,
satellite.
Yeah.
and you get rid of the family, indigenous.
Well, that's how
and,
you get the money down.
You get to get investors to come and build, Disney World.
Oh, you see.